For more on Scheer's upcoming climate plan and pipeline politics, let's bring in political analyst Michael Geoghegan. He joins us from Williams Lake, BC. Good to see you. Hello, Michael.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Okay, so we're talking from the pipeline to the climate emergency declaration. How do you see Scheer setting up this plan?
Well, I think what he's doing is he's drawing a clear distinction between him and the federal Liberals. The federal Liberals were all about imposing carbon taxes. Now, the vast majority of Canadians are very concerned about climate change, but the vast majority of Canadians are also struggling to make ends meet. So the carbon tax has not been popular for the simple reason that it puts middle class and working Canadians further behind the eight ball. Now you contrast that with Scheer's plan, where he's saying, I'm not going to impose a carbon tax, I'm going to get rid of it, but I'm going to make big polluters pay, and they're going to have to invest in clean, green technology. So for people, struggling with their, day-to-day bills and whatnot, it certainly has a certain amount of appeal.
So, and to that end, how much weight then does he give the Conservative-led provinces who have opted out of the carbon tax?
Well, I think it gives them, tremendous vindication in saying that, look, we're hearing it on the doorsteps when we were campaigning provincially. People are taxed to the max and they're looking for a break. And there's also, I guess, a lack of credibility in terms of Ottawa's collecting all this additional revenue. What are they actually doing with it? Because, we're still bringing in oil from Saudi Arabia to the East Coast, et cetera, et cetera. So certainly in terms of a cohesive policy, the Scheer's plan does have some attractiveness to it, in the sense that it's saying, look, we're going to take on the largest polluters, and rather than just simply penalizing them, in a sense, pay to pollute option, we're going to say, no, you have to actually invest in clean green technology. And there's a number of Canadian companies like Accumulated Ocean Energy and others that are, wave energy, solar energy, which are desperate for investment. So, that'll come as welcome news to that sector as well.
And what about the numbers behind it? Yesterday, I was speaking with the former Deputy Conservative leader, Peter MacKay, and he said what he'd like to see, and he said he has no knowledge of exactly what this plan is going to be. But what he said he'd like to see, what Canadians should see, is numbers, science, research, to back up whatever plan that might be.
Absolutely. And I think what you want to see is an overall reduction in emissions. Since 2005, it's the oil and gas sector that has been increasing emissions. It hasn't been ordinary Canadians increasing their emissions. So if they're forced to invest in cleaner, greener technology, that's something where Canada actually goes down the road of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, which obviously we need to do given, the increases in temperature that we're experiencing globally.
And what about the position on the Paris Accord?
Well, the Paris Accord, the Paris Accord is interesting in that it doesn't do enough to halt climate change, but at the same time, the targets it sets are sufficiently challenging that a lot of countries are having trouble meeting it. So certainly anything that gets us to reduce our emissions and start getting towards those Paris Climate Accord limits is a good thing, but we also have to recognize that if we're actually going to stop global warming, we need to go beyond that. But this is certainly, I think, in some ways, a good concrete first series of steps.
Michael Geoghegan, thank you very much.
Thank you.